G'day guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Monday, February the 2nd, 2026. And as always, great to have you all along. It's been a big weekend for not just boxing, but UFC. I can see there's a few comments there about that. Big weekend. I just saw the highlights today of Zayos and Barrel. Looked like a really good fight. I didn't watch the whole thing. After about 10 hours of boxing yesterday, or 9 hours, whatever it was, I cheated and watched the highlights today, but not too bad. A good win from Xander Zayas over Abbas Barrel, and opens up a lot of possibilities for him. Shakur Stevenson putting on an absolute masterclass to totally school Teofimo Lopez, and in the massive upset, Josh Kelly with the 12-round decision win over Barkram Murtazaliev. So I'm sure you've got a lot to say about all those things. If you haven't been here before, as it says there, it's Talking Boxing. Put your comments, remarks, questions, whatever it might be in the chat, and let's get things going. And also a special shout out and thank you to everyone that listens after the fact on Spotify. All right, so I'm not even going to try and get these comments in order tonight, guys. I spend way too much time going through my phone to try and get it right. I'm just going to go straight into it from whatever's at the top of my feed, and hopefully they sort of pan out as we go. All right, who we got first? We'll start with I gave him $1. Teo needs a new trainer. I think there would literally be thousands of better trainers over there that could have given him better corner advice on a mobile phone than his father. Yeah, look, I didn't actually comment about that this morning, and I meant to. Listening to or watching and listening to the telecast yesterday, I was like, what is his father doing in there? It was like, come on, man. Just come on, man. Just come on. You know, punch him. I think I commented today, just the comment of just punch him harder. Okay, that's not really going to get the job done. I did see there was actually, there's a story today I read somewhere that he must have commented about it, and he said the game plan was on point. So Teo didn't put it into practice and didn't do what they'd worked on. Well, that's sort of what a trainer's job is during the fight, is to reinforce what they've been working on during training. You know, maybe if he had said, Teo, you know, remember, you know, move to the left, or Teo, when he throws his jab, come back with the right hand, you know, all the stuff we've been doing in training. I don't know, I'm just picking a few things as guesses, but they're the things you reinforce. And I saw it in Shakur's corner. I think it's his grandfather, isn't it? In his corner, very relaxed, very measured, very pointed. And you got Teo's dad in there just saying, come on, man, punch him harder. I mean, come on. Yeah, I actually thought that he had changed trainers, I must admit. I thought that happened a fight or two ago where he did change trainers. Obviously, that's wrong. But he needs and can do a lot better than his dad. Yeah, it's one thing to have a cheerleader, which is what Teo's dad is. That's all he is. It's one thing to have a cheerleader in the corner in the form of your father, but then you've still got to have someone that knows what they're doing. Now, I would think, and we've gone through this with John Fury and others as well, is that it's okay to sort of to have your dad through the lead up to it, through the training camp, but on fight night, just stay out of it. And let the trainer do their job. And if you can't do it, which is pretty obvious that Teo's dad can't, just stay out of it. I'm not sure he can do it, because I think what happens a lot is a lot of them live their dreams through their sons, which is blatantly obvious in a lot of the cases. And I think that's definitely the case with Teofimo's dad. He is just living his dreams through Teo and has to step away. He won't, of course, because it sounds like him, like a lot of dads, are very, very selfish and think it's all about them. I mean, even the lead up in the fight, the press conference and the weigh-in, dancing around with a belt, getting into a little tit for tat with Terence Crawford, all these sorts of things. I just don't think it did Teo any favours whatsoever, and certainly didn't do him any favours in the ring. So it was pretty comical. But I thought Teo might have done this after the George Kambosos fight, was it 4 or 5 years ago, where he could see what we can all see, is that his dad is just a cheerleader, not a experienced, very good trainer in the corner. So anyway, he's got to, as I say, make his bed and line it as well. And if he wants to stick with a guy that gives him nothing and hasn't got the courage to do what Tim Tszyu did and forego the whole family thing, then you reap what you sow. I think I've got no doubt, to be honest, Tio might even know what we're all talking about here, but he would never do that to his dad. He would rather lose fights and not be the fighter that he could be to keep his dad happy. Because I don't know, with the whole Puerto Rican heritage thing, I know family, like a lot, most countries obviously, but very strong on the whole family dynamic, and you'd think that that would be a major break in the family if they parted ways. So I've got a feeling that Tio just keeps him on board just because it's his dad. So, Asbot, how are you there, mate? Hi all. I stand corrected. I thought Tio could close the distance and land something meaningful. Shakur looked like the bigger, stronger man. Also, Clinic, yeah, he did actually look the bigger guy, didn't he? I must admit, Asbot, I did notice that as well, and he looked good at the weight. Whether or not he goes back to lightweight, I'm not really sure there's that much there at lightweight for him. I know you've got, what are the rankings at the moment? Because there's obviously been a few belts that have changed hands. If he stays at lightweight, I think 140 is more his weight division, to be honest. But if he stays at 135, so he's still at the WBC belt. You've got Abdullah Mason, of course. Tank Davis, I don't think he's going to do much. Moritalia, that's a great fight. I didn't even think of Raymond Moritalia. That could be a really good final fight for Shakur Stevenson at 135. The problem is that when you go up in weight, it's very hard to come back mentally and even sometimes physically. And the fact, I know it's only 5 pounds, but he might go, you know what, I felt really good at the weight. I wasn't worrying about those last few pounds. But then having said that, he started at featherweight, went to 130 and then ended up at 135 and now at 140. So maybe he can make lightweight still pretty easy. If that's the case, maybe go back, because I think a Raymond Moritalia fight would be big business, I would think. Maybe Abdullah Mason, probably not quite ready yet, but definitely Moritalia. And at 140, well, you've got some really good fights there. Richardson Hitchens, Gary Antoine Russell, Dalton Smith even could be a good fight for him, and obviously Pitbull Cruz as well, even though he's only the interim WBC champion. So no matter what Shakur does, I think he's got a lot of options out there. And I'm with you, Asbot. I did pick Shakur to win, but I did think that Tio could do a lot better as far as closing the distance and obviously landing meaningful punches, which he didn't either. So I did comment this morning that I was just staggered that a fighter of the caliber of Teofimo Lopez could not change anything up. He could not change the distance, the range, his punch output, the type of punches he was throwing. He couldn't do anything. And Shakur Stevenson just sat there licking his lips all night going, how easy is this? Everything that I wanted to happen that suits my style and suits my strengths have all just been handed to me on a silver platter. And wouldn't you have liked to, just getting back to his dad, wouldn't you have liked to have seen his dad just say once, or Teofimo even to think of it himself, all right, well, I'm going to spend a round of just putting the head down and I'm going to come in low and I'm going to come over the top and really change my distance, my angles, and I'm going to bowl some punches over the top and make Shakur Stevenson work for this win, because it was pretty obvious that Shakur Stevenson was winning every single round. And the fact that Tio didn't cry robbery afterwards, which I thought he still might. This is the type of guy Teofimo Lopez is, that having lost 11, worst case 10 rounds of the fight, he could still claim robbery. Even after the fight, he did not complain whatsoever. So wouldn't you have just thought, geez, I've got all, this money riding on it, this massive fight, probably the biggest fight he's ever been in. Am I just going to lay down and just give this performance? I was really disappointed that Tio didn't take a little bit more pride in himself and just let it all hang out. He was getting picked off and losing every round anyway, so why not just go for it? So I know it's easy sometimes to say, well, maybe you should have done this and should have done that as far as strategy goes, but at some point, surely it would have been, well, no matter what things I'm trying to do aren't working, so now I'm just going to bite down the mouthpiece and I'm going to just start throwing some bombs at this guy and see if I can get him out of his comfort zone. And he was just happy just to go through 12 rounds and just lose at least 11, or at least 10, maybe 11 rounds out of the 12. So very, very disappointing from Teofimo Lopez. Ryan, did you see the fights on Zuffa 2? A bloody ripper? No, I didn't, mate. I forgot they were even on, to be honest. And I wish I hadn't remembered they were on, because I was at my desk just doing stuff all day on the computer and forgot it was even on. I could have put Paramount on my phone or on the computer and just missed it, mate. So no, I didn't see it, but by all accounts it wasn't a bad day of fights. And what's next? Jaya Pataya in about 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time. He'll be on as well. So I'll check it out if I get time tomorrow, Ryan. I'll have a look at the card. Oh yeah. So still with Ryan, the Jarrell, Baby Miller fight was okay, but whatever blows your hair back. Oh Jesus! Have you ever seen anything as funny as that? When he got hit, and it's even better in slow motion, and his hair starts to sort of go up and down. It sort of reminded me of what's the movie with Adam Sandler and the guy out of the Gigolo movie? What's his name? Not Roy Schnoder. Is that his name? Hang on, I'm gonna have to look it up now. What's it called? Grown Ups. That's the movie. Hang on, what's the cast? Because he's in that, and he's got the toupee, and that's blowing around as well. Rob Schneider. I called him Roy Schneider. Rob Schneider, and he's obviously got the hairpiece on, and I think he's running or something. It's his hair's doing this or playing basketball, whatever it was. That's what it reminded me of. And then when the hair come off and he threw it into the crowd, and Sky Nicholson caught it. And you can see the ring around the top of his head. When you've just thought, when it happened, I think it was due to, was it shampoo or something that he used? Wouldn't you just shave it off? I mean, it'll be back to sort of stubble, I suppose, in a week. I'm sure he'd be fine. But to try and put a toupee on going into a boxing match, I mean, that is just ridiculous. It was always going to come off. So, but yeah, it was pretty funny. I did say also, Ryan, that he did a little bit of a sketch on himself on his social media. Must have been AI, where he's in the car and he's in the wind and it's blowing up and down as well. So yeah, it was pretty funny. Big ups to the Volk, a great defense of his UFC title. I didn't actually see it, Ryan. Obviously watching the Shakur and Teo fight. We had a few at the pub to watch it from all accounts. Volk, a great Australian, a great fighter. But as I always say, mate, I don't normally get into the UFC too much. I haven't really seen any of it. But good on him. He's a credit to Australia, a bit of a national sort of monument to us, isn't he, Volkanovski? And a great export that we've had in combat sport. So good on him. His career looked like it was in a bit of trouble there for a while, and he's got himself together, got the UFC title back and defended it yesterday. So good on the Volk. All right. Shakur definitely showed his class. Amazing jab. I didn't think much of the Kelly win. He brought his running shoes. Mertz definitely showed how limited he is, one-dimensional, yeah. And look, firstly on Shakur, yeah, 100% he showed his class and jab. I did sort of say this morning I was a little bit disappointed that that's all he did. You know, when he knew he had Teo's measure, I know he had to play it safe and just do what he's doing. Of course, he's going to stick with that. But I was just hoping that maybe he might just open up. I mean, when he fought Zepeda last time out, you could see sort of he stood his ground. He dug in. He punched with Zepeda. And I just thought yesterday that he might have just thought, well, I've won every round here. I might just start just going after Teo and really make a statement, try and maybe even stop him. But he didn't really go out of his comfort zone at all. And while I'm disappointed, I'm always pretty impressed, to be honest, that he actually stuck to what was getting him the win per round. But yeah, would have liked to have seen him just open up just a little bit. But just the ones and twos were doing it, and he just absolutely made a mess of Teofimo Lopez. As for Josh Kelly, yeah, well, a bit of both there. Look, you probably heard me say, I don't think Kelly ran, but he was definitely sort of giving him lots of movement, I'll say. But Murtazaliev, I just think, look, definitely showed maybe, I'm not saying how limited he is, because I think he's still a very, very good fighter. I just think a couple of things yesterday. I think, first of all, the ring rust, I think you could definitely tell he's been out of the ring for 15 or 16 months. I think that was pretty obvious. But also style-wise, you can just see he just struggles with someone that gives him a little bit of movement. I remember with Colque gave him some issues as well with a bit of movement. Whereas Tim just made him look like, you know, one of the greatest fighters of all time just by simply standing in front of him. And if you do that against Murtazaliev, well, that's what happens. But I just think Kelly, he had a really good game plan of giving him lateral movement, giving him angles, different tempos. I just thought he fought a really smart fight. And I know it's easy to say, well, he just bought his running shoes. I just call it good lateral movement, Ryan, because the thing is, and I might talk a little bit more about this tomorrow in walking boxing, but you got to remember, you still got to win the fight, because if you just run, you're going to lose the fight. you're just going to lose. If you get on your toes and just run, look at what Jake Paul did. Not that we should be even put him in the same sentence as someone like Murtazaliev, but he just ran around and just did not win 1 second of that fight. If Kelly really had his running shoes on and did what you said there and just ran, well, he wouldn't have been winning the rounds. He was mixing up the movement with punching, so he had to engage at some stage. And when he did, Murtazaliev couldn't go with him, and that's the reason he won, not because he's just running away. The great fighters like Triple G and Tyson and Chavez and these types of guys, they faced guys who would run, and they always got to them in the end because they were great fighters. I think it's more about the fighter that's getting the movement against him. It's up to them to really change things up and get the job done. Murtazaliev couldn't do it. So I suppose what you're saying there is correct. It shows how limited he is. But I don't think Murtazaliev is a limited fighter. I just think he was badly exposed. All his deficiencies were all on show yesterday, and Kelly just exploited all of them. And I just think it's a lot more credit to Josh Kelly rather than just saying he ran. Because as I said, you still have to engage to win the fight. And he did it when he needed to. And then he gave him movement when he needed to as well. So I just thought it was a great performance from Ryan Gray. From Ryan Gray. I'll look at your name. Sorry, Ryan. From Josh Kelly. Thank you, Ryan Gray. Thank you. All right, so I think you're going to address this here. Further to the Josh Kelly fight, I believe he won. That's no doubt, but there is a difference between movement and borrowing Jake Paul's runners. I wasn't impressed. Showing angles, Bud has angles. I thought depends on how you define angles, Ryan. Well, I define angles as obviously coming in from different directions. Bud, of course, is a master at it. Josh Kelly's obviously not Bud Crawford, but he still gave Murtazaliev angles. Not as good at angles as what maybe Bud Crawford would have, but he still gave him angles. And no, I don't think he borrowed Jake Paul's runners because, as I said, mate, Jake Paul, that's all he did was run and didn't make any attempt to win the fight. Josh Kelly did all he had to do to win and did it to perfection. So I don't necessarily agree with that, mate, but each to their own. All right, Drew. For someone who is often unfairly labelled a track star in Stevenson, he sure did put a swelling and beat down on Teo's face for a so-called track star. Well, the one thing Shakur Stevenson didn't do, Drew, and that's run. While I was frustrated that he didn't up the tempo and really try to, do a lot of work on Teofimo, even though he did a lot anyway, but really put a beating on Teo. He was just content just to go through the same thing over and over and over. And I suppose if the opposition is letting you do it, well, why wouldn't you? But the one thing he didn't do, Drew, is run. He stood right in front of Teo, and Teo just had nothing to give him. And Stevens just won every single round pretty easily. So, well, 11 out of 12 anyway. All right, Drew, again, there was such a huge disparity in IQ between Shakur and Teo to the point where Teo seemed to either have no idea or ran out of ideas on how to crack the Shakur defense. Well, mate, you're right. And I just thought if there was one fighter out there that could crack Shakur's code, it was Teofimo Lopez. Again, I picked Shakur Stevenson to win, but I just thought Teofimo, such a great talent as far as a fighter goes, I thought he would at least make it very interesting, frustrate Shakur Stevenson with missing it up a little bit and maybe with a good game plan. Obviously, he didn't. And he was out of options after 2 rounds, I thought. After the second round, I was like, all right, well, I won't bother sort of scoring this because it's going one way. And after 8 or 9 rounds, as I said before, at what point would you expect Teo to go, well, nothing's working. How about I just go out there and give it my all? I'm just going to give this guy my belt. That's what I just can't get my head around. Would you have seen the past greats do that? Would you have seen a Chavez or a De La Hoya or a Pacquiao, one of those guys, just hand their belts to somebody? Never. And that's what I was really disappointed in Teofimo Lopez, because of all the bravado and the talking and the showmanship and all the other stuff he comes out with. I was just staggered that he just handed his belt to Shakur Stevenson without a whimper. Did not even give a yelp. So that was disappointing to me because I just thought he was a lot better fighter than that. And again, even though I thought Shakur would win, I thought Teo would win rounds and give him a lot to think about, and he gave him nothing to think about. And Shakur Stevenson apparently said before this fight that this would be one of his easiest fights, and I think we all laughed at it. But in reality, that's exactly what it was. Probably the easiest fight I've seen him have. So, still shaking my head on Teo's performance. Utopia Blue. I'll just have a drink here. Sorry. All right. I'd really like to see Nikita follow Tim's lead and get a new trainer. I hope he learns from Tim's mistakes. Well, look, what Tim saw in his team, maybe Nikita doesn't see. And maybe the team has actually learnt a little bit from what's happened with Tim, and now they've rectified that with Nikita. Now, I don't know, I'm not part of the camp, but just maybe, and this is probably why maybe Nikita has said, no, I'm not going to leave my trainers. I think they're actually doing a really good job. I think sometimes too, Utopia, is that it's easy to blame. I'm getting back to the Tim thing here. It's easy to blame the corner after the fighter loses. And this is probably something I probably haven't been vocal enough about. And I've been one that said he probably should have changed trainers. So I'll put that out there for starters. But I've never really heard Tim actually take any accountability for the performances. While I agree with him moving on, I think he needed to change. I was thinking about the other day, and I've never actually heard Tim say, well, I've got to wear a little bit of the fault or the blame myself. And it hasn't been that way, because even though he hasn't sort of really come out and specifically said it, he sort of left little hints and tips and whatever out there just to sort of put it out there that he blames his corner for his mistake. So, I don't know, maybe it was a little bit of both. But I think from Nikita, I think he's the type of guy that will say, well, until I've got something to be concerned about, I'm going to stay loyal. The problem, of course, with that is that you don't know until it's too late and you've actually lost a fight. But I don't know whether I'm one of the few Utopia, but I actually was really impressed with Nikita's performance against Michael Zarafa, even though it only went 2 rounds. I thought it looked like he'd improved a lot as far as his skill goes. So I think we just got to give his team the benefit of the doubt and let them do their thing. And let's just judge Nikita on his next probably 2 or 3 fights and then see where he's at. But I just think from what I saw against Zarafa, again, only in 2 rounds, I actually liked what I saw from him. I thought he was a lot more poised. I thought his punches were nice and sharp. Even his defense seemed a little bit better. I was impressed. But the proof will be in the pudding going forward, won't it? So it looks like we've got a super chat there. D-Style. How are you there, mate? $2. Thank you very much, mate. Hit the like, everyone. Yeah, sorry, mate. I always forget that. And now, D-Style, I was going to ask you too. I saw quickly today, did you do a pound-for-pound top 10 and have Shakur Stevenson at number 1? I'm just going to have a quick look while you're there. I don't know. Where did I see it? Is it on YouTube or is it... Where is it? D-Style Boxing. All right, view the channel. I'm pretty sure it was on your shorts or something, was it? Or something. Nah, I must have got it wrong. Where is it? No. Is it on your Instagram? Whatever. Let me know there, D-Style. I'm pretty sure I saw that you had Shakur Stevenson at number 1 ahead of Naoya Inoue and Alexander Usyk. Let us know, guys. Do you agree with D-Style? And thanks again, mate. I really appreciate that. All right. Eminem, how are you there, mate? Still not feeling the Zuffa fight trunks. Yeah, it's a bit bland, isn't it, Eminem? To get him to fight in... basic black and white trunks. Again, I haven't seen the fight card from today, so I don't know. But, geez, let the guys express themselves. I said this last week. Can you imagine Camacho and these types of guys in just plain black or white trunks? I mean, takes away a lot of their personalities, I reckon. That's the beauty of boxing. I remember even with Jorge Paez, remember his cornerman even had the... especially, I think it's his cut man, he had the replica sort of hairdo and all that he had for that particular fight. I mean, that's who we are. That's boxing. And that's one thing I've never liked about UFC. It's so just corporatized. So, look, it is what it is. If sponsors and all that are paying for it or whatever, that's fine. But let the guys and girls express the personalities in the boxing ring. So I'm with you there, mate. Yeah, Eminem's Jarrell Miller losing his toupee mid-fight was the funniest thing I've seen happen in a boxing match. Yep, yeah, it's a good call there, Eminem. I might have to dig a little bit deeper and maybe come up with a few and maybe talk about them in walking boxing. What has been the most funniest moments in a fight? Well, I did do the most bizarre fights I'd seen. They were the Australian ones. This could possibly be could join that list if I did a worldwide one. Him losing his toupee, that was unbelievable. All right, Tom's dad, Naz. How are you there, Naz? Manuel Lopez's son moved to 5-0 on the Zayas Barral undercard also. Okay, mate, I will check that out. I'll just have a quick look at the results. Who was the main event again? Who was the main event? That's how much notice I took of it. I can't even look up someone's name on it. Boachuk, was it? I think Boachuk was on there. See if it brings it up. All right, I think that's it. Yeah, okay, I've just put Boachuk's name in there. So that was today. All right, so the result. So Serhei Boachuk with a 10-round decision win over Radzheb Butayev. Oh, Jose Valenzuela. Valenzuela. Okay, almost said Venezuela. With a 10-round decision over Diego Torres Nunez. I won't even try and pronounce his name. Had the 7th-round knockout of Alexander Gavojkovic. And where's his... What's his name there, Naz? Juan Manuel Lopez's son. Because there's no one on there with Lopez as the last name. What's his name? 5-0. Oh, yeah? Is it? Must be him, is it? Jama. No, that can't be him. I don't know who you're talking about there, Naz. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the Zuffa card. Sorry, mate. The Barao on the card. Sorry about that. Jeez, I'll just move on here. I've just wasted about 2 minutes of your life. Sorry about that. All right. Not off to a great start. All right, let's get back on track. Who takes over at 135 if Shakur stays up at 140? Mason, hard to beat, but the Schofield or Maritalia fights will be legit. Yeah, Floyd Schofield, I forgot about him. Yep, he would be good. Who takes over at 135? All right, so we've got Maritalia with the IBF belt. We've got Davis with the WBA belt. You'd think Herrera would take over the WBC belt if Stevenson stays there, and Mason with the WBO. I still wouldn't count out Andy Cruz there, Naz. I think he's still got a lot to play out as far as his career goes. I still think he'll be a world champion. But who takes over? I would say Maritalia is the man at the moment, but I would say that Abdullah Mason's got the style. So has maybe Schofield have got the style to maybe upset Maritalia. And it obviously depends on what happens with Gervonta Davis as well. For the meantime, I would say Maritalia, then Mason, and then eventually I still think Andy Cruz will take over the division at some stage. All right, Naz, like Bill Haney or not, I don't. Getting involved in the scuffle at the weigh-in shows he knows how to work the media and get attention for he and his son's benefit. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, that one. I must admit, at the start, I thought he was just trying to break it up, but he was a little bit of the instigator as well, wasn't he? So, yeah, leave it to Bill Haney to get the attention on him and, in turn, Devon, I suppose, Naz. I just hate when all this sort of stuff happens. I know it sort of happened over the journey, but I got no doubt that was manufactured, by the way. Everyone had their phones out. It was ready to go. I know the fisticuffs and that in there, but I don't know. Geez, especially Bill Haney, mate. Just stay out of it. Maybe Bill could fight Teofimo Senior on one of the fight cards, and just work out who's the biggest wanker in the fathers of boxers out there. Fair dinkum. All right, where are we? How bizarre if Xander Zayos gets the Kelly fight and has 3 of the belts at 154, yep, when most people would probably have him behind Boots, Virgil, Madrimov, Fundora, Boachuk, and even Kacharakis. Yeah, looking at where he's at the moment. So, yeah. Well, I think it's doubtful about Kacharakis, by the way, Naz, but the others I probably agree with. Maybe even Boachuk you could take out. I'll probably have him above both those guys. Maybe even Madrimov, to be honest, but definitely Boots, Virgil, Fundora. Who else we got there? Even guys like Thurman and these types of guys I'd probably have in front of in front of Zayos. But yeah, look, yeah, he could have 3 of the belts. Isn't it amazing that the actual champions of the division at the moment, apart from Fundora, are probably the weakest links in the 154-pound division. Josh Kelly, Xander Zayos, probably a couple of the, as I said, weaker links in the chain of the 154-pound division. But look, I did read today too, it made good sense too with Josh Kelly. The article sort of said that they have to make the most of Josh Kelly right now, because even though he does have a belt, he's still very much the B-side, and what he needs to do is leverage that belt right now to get one of these big guys in a big fight for big money, because the odds are he's not going to hold the belt for long. Look, great win yesterday. Congratulations to him. As I said before, I take my hat off to him, and he fully deserved his win. But I've got a feeling that he's not going to hold the belt long. So if I was Josh Kelly, I'd be saying, hey, get me boots right now. Get him a big money fight right now, because if he fights any of those guys, where is he now? So, and this will make you surprised as well. Nikita Tszyu is the number 3 challenger on the list at the moment. So there you go. So you got Callum Walsh this is what I don't get, by the way. Ratings number 1 and 2 are not rated. That's what it says on the rankings here. Not rated. Number 1 and 2. Number 3 is vacant. All right. So number 1 and 2 challengers are not rated, and the number 3 is vacant. Again, I don't know how you have a vacant rating, but if you're talking about fighters, top of the list is Callum Walsh, then Brandon Adams, and then Nikita Tszyu. So there you go. And geez, if I was Nikita Tszyu's team, it'd be if Josh Kelly came up and said they wanted a fight, I reckon I'd be in 2 seconds flat taking that fight, because that's a winnable fight for him. So there you go. It's amazing how quickly everything can turn for you, isn't it? So, and sometimes he's got to be in the right place at the right time. And could Nikita Tszyu at the end of this year find himself in a world title fight with someone like a Josh Kelly? Just crazy. Wouldn't it be funny if Nikita fought Josh Kelly and say Tim got in there with Xander Zayos? That would be bizarre, wouldn't it? The two brothers, but not as far-fetched as it might have seemed a week or so ago, is it? So, all right, Naz, I'm out of order here. Sorry, mate. When Jai got to present Round of the Year at the Ring Awards, I wish he was up on stage and he said, hey, Zerdo, do you know who I am now? Would have been funny. I think it's pretty obvious, Naz, that Zerdo Ramirez knows exactly who Jai Pataya is, and even more so now that he's signed on with Zuffa. But yeah, that's great that Jai got to get up there and present an award, wasn't it? He's definitely reached the big time, hasn't he? All right, Naz, maybe I'm wrong, but I've always felt like it wasn't Barkram being avoided so much as the IBF rehydration clause. Yeah, I think so, Naz. And that sort of has been the case with a lot of other fighters out there. I think it's that, as well as just the fact that even though he had a belt, just not a good guy to fight. Just, look, he's not marketable. Obviously a massive risk. The rehydration clause would obviously be the cherry on top. I just don't think, with all the action going on at 154, I just don't think he just made sense to a lot of the fighters out there. I mean, you had, was it Erickson Lubin turned down the fight with him? Who else was there? Was it someone else turned down the fight? I think did they? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, I think that's the same case for a lot of IBF champions, Naz. But yeah, I never thought he was avoided just because he was good. I just think he just made no sense to those other guys. I mean, Erickson Lubin got the Ortiz fight instead. And it took someone like Josh Kelly to get in there because he thought, oh, well, I may as well take the opportunity while it's there. And he exposed Bakram for not being the killer that we all thought he was. All right, Big J. I think I'm not going to do that comment now because it says last one. I'll go to start of your comments, I think, and we'll work through them. Looks like you got a few there. Where are we? All right, here we go. Hey, gents, what a weekend. Unfortunately, Jensen didn't get the job done, nor that we expected her to, but she should have been more aggressive and could have won that fight. Yes, it was unfortunate, of course. I'm not sure being more aggressive would have given her a chance to win the fight, Big J. I think if she had actually been aggressive, she probably would have got herself stopped, in my opinion. But what she should have done, I said again in the video, she should have used her jab a lot more. Maybe, I know it was on the undercard, but maybe take a leaf out of the way that Josh Kelly fought Bakram Murtazaliev. Give her angles. What was her name? Turhan, I think her name was. Give her angles, but then attack rather than just give her angles and then wait to be sort of pounced upon. She should have been more proactive, but still use lateral movement. If she had been more aggressive, mate, she would have got stopped. I think the fact that she hung in there is because she did use lateral movement, but she just needed to mix that up with punching as well. And she saw those punches coming from a mile away. That Turhan, I said again in the review of the fight, that very, very overrated. These just big swings coming from nowhere, just not very well schooled. And I think a more sort of seasoned and skilled fighter than Taylor Jensen will make her pay, I would think, Big J. But I don't agree with what you said there about having been more aggressive. She just should have, especially as the fight went on and the sting went out of the fight, just backed herself a little bit more of just standing her ground and throwing a few more combinations and then getting out of there again, like Josh Kelly did with Barkram Murtazaliev. Would you believe that Jensen is still active full-time in the Army? No, I didn't know that, Big J. Buggers me how she got the approval to do that. Lots of boxes to be ticked while on leave in the Army. Trust me, I salute her. Yeah, well, she's, excuse the pun there, Big J, but she's a trooper, isn't she? I think, is she a mum as well, I think? So, yeah, just, look, and great credit to her, by the way. I didn't actually say that. Good on her yesterday for a really good, solid performance. It wasn't enough, but she did the best she could. Wasn't enough yesterday. Still a fight that she could have won. But I think overall she showed a ton of guts and, probably exposed her hand for being a little bit limited as well. Just couldn't do what Josh Kelly did, unfortunately. Tio proved how short he is and desperately needs to get rid of that idiot father of his. He's sabotaged his son's career. Yes. Yes, that's for sure. Where are we here? All right, Shadow Boxer. I wonder if Barkram losing affects Barkram's confidence. Okay, because he probably told himself, well, I'll stop by Killer. Turns out he's not that. Oh, is he talking about Tim? I wonder if Barkram losing affects Tim's confidence. Okay, because he probably told himself, well, I'll stop by Killer. Turns out he's not that. Well, he did do that video this morning, Shadow Boxer, didn't he? And he sort of said, well, this is what happens when the best fight the best. He didn't really mention, I don't think, Barkram's fight. Did he? By name, I don't think, or did he? I can't remember. But I think he just said that it's great that fighters are now starting to fight each other more often, the elite fighters. Look, I wouldn't put it past that two-shadow boxer that Tim will be sitting back going, geez, I got stopped by that guy in 3 rounds. He's just been beaten by a guy who's supposedly pretty limited. I would hope not. I would think the people in Tim's ear would say, hey, mate, styles make fights, as they always say. You went straight at Barkram and paid the price. Josh Kelly used movement and a different style of fighting, and that was the right style to fight him, which is why he won. Because if Josh Kelly had fought Barkram the same way as Tim did, I think the same fate would have awaited him as well. So I think it just would have been a learning curve. I certainly, for one, would have said to Tim, hey, see, this is what happens when you use your brain and use your talent. You don't try and just overpower these guys. Use it as a learning tool rather than just putting doubt in his mind that, well, shit, I got stopped by 3 rounds and Josh Kelly just beat him. No, I would spin it around and say, see what happens when you use your head and your brains and your IQ. That's how you beat those real elite type of fighters. So, again, I would hope they would use it in a positive, not a negative. What do you got there, Big J? All right. I might have a go at the Fred Brophy's boxing tent this weekend to entice that chump McAllister get in the ring. Okay. All right. Film it and put it on the YouTube channel, mate. Have you done a video yet? I haven't seen it. Let us know. I haven't been on there too much today. Drew. After watching Tio versus Shakur, I'm convinced that matchup will always be a nightmare and a loss for Tio no matter who coaches him. They could fight 10 times for the same result. Yep, I agree after seeing it yesterday, Drew. I don't think Tio has what it takes to beat Shakur at any stage. And you're right, they could fight 10 times. Shakur wins 10 times. I think Tio, I would hope, could make it closer, but I don't think he could ever beat Shakur. No. He might win 3 or 4 rounds. That's probably about the best I reckon he could do. Eminem. Jai Apataya confirmed for Azufa 4, March 8. Likely to be a non-title bout unless the IBF agrees to sanction whichever lesser name opponent can be secured.
per the World Boxing News. Well, he's just gotten past his mandatory, hasn't he, Eminem? So his next ranked challenger is Chris Billum-Smith. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. There's a few different ones in the division he could probably fight. A lot of no names in there, so maybe. I'm not sure Jai Pataya would want a non-title fight though, would he? I'm pretty sure he would want to defend that belt. So look, either way, Eminem doesn't really matter. He's going to be on a big card in front of a big TV audience, not necessarily an in-arena audience. But yeah, I would be surprised if it was a non-title fight. But either way, as long as he's showcasing himself to a massive audience, that's all that matters. All right, Big J. I think it's fair to say that Volkanovski is the best fighter we've ever had. I know you'll say Fenech, but when was he ever pound for pound number one or even the best in any division? Volk is the GOAT. Well, he was the best in a couple of divisions, Big J. Best in 3 divisions, actually, and probably 4 if you count the win over Azuma Nelson. When he was IBF champion, he was the main man. When he was the 122-pound champion, he was the main man. And when he was the 126-pound champion, he was the main man. Look, I think it's pretty hard to compare the two, Big J, because they're just different sports. I don't know much about UFC. I don't know the type of fighters he's fighting and their legacy in the sport. I don't know what they've done in the past. I have no idea. All I know is that Jeff Fenech well and truly earned the status as Australia's best boxer. And look, whether you think he's the best fighter we've ever had, well, that's your opinion, I suppose. But this is the thing with Fenech, I will say, Big J. I mean, you talk about pound for pound number ones there, and again, I don't know the UFC well enough to have any comment on that, so I won't even try. But when Jeff Fenech was at his peak, I'm pretty sure he reached the number 2 or 3 pound for pound fighter in the world. And this is when we had Mike Tyson, Pernell Whitaker, Julio Cesar Chavez, Hearns, Duran, Hagler. They were all around and probably on the tail end of their careers then, but just having Tyson, Whitaker, Chavez, these types of guys around, and Jeff Fenech was still the number, I think, I'm going to guess and say it might have been number 3. The number 3 pound for pound fighter in the world at that stage, I would think more than eclipses Volkanovski being number 1 in the UFC. That's just my opinion. Again, I don't know anything about UFC, so I'm not going to comment, but you want sort of clarification of Jeff Fenech's status in the sport when he was fighting. That was it. Number 1 in 3, if not 4 weight divisions. Number 2 or 3 pound for pound in the world at the time when there were some of the greatest fighters of all time fighting. Of course, I'm going to say Jeff Fenech. Not to say I don't like Volkanovski. I think he's been great for Aussie combat sports. He's been awesome for obviously for the UFC, and good on him. But I just don't think you can compare the two. Different sports, as I said, mate. So just think it'll be probably a slide on both of them to try and compare them against each other. But you are right when you say I'll say Fenech, because you're 100% right. All right, Naz. Stoked for Josh Padley to win a Euro title on the Barkram Kelly card. Yeah, it was a pretty good fight, wasn't it? Good knockout. Working class guy who fought Shakur on 4 days' notice and now reaping the rewards. Undefeated since Shakur against good opponents. Yeah, I'm with you there, Naz. I felt really good for him because I felt sorry for him when he fought Shakur Stevenson. I mean, good on him. He would have got a good payday, got the fight for a world title, all that sort of stuff. But he was so far out of his depth. But the fact he came back and had a really good win yesterday, won that European title. It's great that Eddie Hearn sort of got behind him. And you never know, he might get another shot down the track. But yeah, I don't really know too much about his background, Naz. But yeah, I'm stoked that he got another opportunity and he's making the most of it for sure. All right, Naz. I really hope Jai gets the Michelanian fight next as unification. It would be the first time in 8 fights apart from the Zorro fight with no rehydration clause. I think we'd see a different beast. Yeah, I'm with you there, Naz. Yeah, I've never really factored that in, I'll be honest, with Jai, with the rehydration clause. Yeah, and it's a good point. It's a really good point. So, yeah, geez, I would love to. I think he would take Michelanian apart. Not easily, but I think he would win that fight convincingly. I think he would beat Ramirez. I would love to see him fight Benavides, though. That's the fight for me. That is one of the best fights to be made in boxing. I'll probably say it every week, but I just think it'd be fantastic. What do you got here, Naz? Maybe showing my age, but seeing Rick Reno in between Gerald Miller and his opponent at the weigh-in made me nostalgic. Seeing his little head pop up there reminded me of Dickie Knee back in the day. Oh, if you watch Walking Boxing, you'll see that I've had a little bit to say about Rick Reno lately. I mean, I sort of feel sorry for him a little bit there, Naz. I think he thinks I suppose he is a player, isn't he? Is he the CEO or whatever of Ring Magazine? So he's obviously a major player, but I'm just not sure whether he realises that there's so many people taking the piss out of him. He just looks so funny with that ridiculous hat and his glasses and his Versace bloody gear on. And I said the other day I had to laugh when everyone shifted from the main stage or where the weigh-in was for Shakur and Teo and had to go to the side of the stage. Excuse me, and he had to make a run over there with he's got the belt in there trying to get it in view, and he couldn't get in there, and you see his little head there, his little hat, and finally got in there, but I can't get the picture out of my head with Shakur and Teo face to face, and there's his head just right in the middle of it. So, Rick, if you're watching, mate, get out of the picture. All right, let the guys have their face off. But yeah, it was funny with the big boys, wasn't it? Little Ring Rick, I think I called him. Little Ring Rick Reno. All right, Drew. Not only did Teo in his corner not have a plan B for Shakur, I'm not even convinced they had a plan A, mate. It's a good point. Really, really good point. Right from the word go, I must admit, the first round, I thought, well, it's a feeling out round. I was actually a little bit encouraged at the start. When Teo took centre ring, I thought, well, he's taken centre ring. He's going to try and push Shakur back. By the end of the round, Shakur had taken centre ring and he never gave it up. And Teo, like you're right there, mate, never really had a plan A. Because after the first round, I thought, well, it's a filling out round. That's cool. And it was semi-close. I still gave it to Shakur, but close-ish. Then after the second round, I was like, okay. You've taken a couple of feel-out rounds here. Then after the third and fourth rounds, it was blatantly obvious he had nothing to offer, and didn't, as I said before, didn't even try anything different, which is again disappointing. So, Drew, I was enormously disappointed to hear Teo's father throw his son under the bus for allegedly not following instructions. Yes, instructions that were neither technical or smart, just general slop. Well, he was just barracking Drew, just saying, "Come on. Punch him harder. Come on, you got to go harder." I mean, come on. Teo's sort of looking at him like, now what? I would have thought that, I'm sure Teo wouldn't say it in public, but surely out the back room he's saying, hey, Dad, where was the advice during the fight? And even if he wasn't asking for the advice, his dad would have had something to say now. Teo, you got to do this, and you got to do this, got to do that. Try this, try that, try something. But just barracking in the corner, say, come on, man, that's not going to get the job done. Did you see last week it was in the tennis? I didn't watch the match, but I saw the social media thing, the little short they put up. It was American player Amanda, something her name was, from America. And she was losing her game. And she actually turned to her her team in the crowd, in the little box they put up for them. She actually turned to them and said, "Give me something. What are you doing?" And they're sort of looking at her like, oh, shit, we're a little bit out of ideas. And she put it right on them in front of everybody and said, "Give me something." So that's almost what Teo needed to do. "Dad, what do you want me to do?" Anyway, but I'm with you, though, mate. I was very disappointed in Teo Senior throwing Teo Junior under the bus. Yeah, not cool at all. Because, as I said before, we say they're not following instructions. Well, what were the instructions? And if he wasn't following them, then you've got to reinforce him. You've got to tell him what he should be doing again. All the preparation's done in camp. And all he is really supposed to do in the fight is to implement what you've been doing, reinforce what you've been doing, and then alter what you've been doing if need be. But you're altering it to all the things that you've been working on in camp. And I'm not at the top level as far as being a trainer goes, but wouldn't you think in the preparation of the camp would have been, all right, now this is what we're going to start to do first. We're going to try and back him up, put the pressure on him, get him out of his comfort zone, maybe go to the body early, give him something. Now, this doesn't work. If we find ourselves on the outside or getting beaten to the punch, all right, now we're going to do this. Something. But all we did right throughout the fight was just barrack. and that's not going to get you far. And I almost felt a little bit sorry for Teofimo Lopez in the end, that he had no one giving him any advice in the corner whatsoever. All right, Utopia Blue. How might you think Tim and his new team might be processing the Josh Kelly win? And do you think that could be a fight, Tim versus Kelly in 2027, if Tim improves and wins fights? Again, as impressed as I was with Josh Kelly Utopia, I don't think he makes it to 2027 with the belt. Again, it depends on who he fights. Look, if he fights Boo Dennis, he's losing that belt straight up. It's as simple as that. I think if he fights Sebastian Fundora, he's losing his belt. I think even Zayn Zayas, I would probably back against him. That would be a really good fight, actually, but I think Zayas might just get the nod. This is unification fights I'm talking about. If he's just going to defend the belt, I think, well, Callum Walsh, I don't think is going to beat him. Brandon Adams, maybe. There's not really much in the 154-pound division, so you just never know. The problem is, though, Utopia, is that Tim's not rated by the IBF at all at the moment, so you've got to get rated first. So he's got to work on that. But, number 9. I take that back. He's ranked number 9. Apologies about that. It definitely is a fight that he could win, Utopia. No problems at all. But I've just got a feeling that the belt won't be there by the time Tim's ready to fight for it. But you never know. The thing is, Tim's still a very, very marketable guy. Very attractive to guys like Josh Kelly. The issue is that Eddie Hearn is his promoter, and he's going to want to match him with Boo Dennis or another one of his fighters, you would think. So that's why I think that fight is a long shot. The only other one there is Xander Zayas, and I've got a feeling that they're going to maybe try and push for the winner of Fundora and Keith Thurman, you would think. So, anyway, I mean, Tim's got a little bit of way to go before he's even in the conversation, though, hasn't he? So, Eminem, a very good performance by Shakur versus Teo, a special talent for sure. I don't see anyone in 135 to 147 giving him too many problems except Haney, possibly. Yeah, geez, that'd be a ripper. Well, it's certainly not going to be Conor Ben Eminem. You would have seen my comments this morning about that. I cannot believe that Shakur Stevenson got Conor Ben into the ring and just give him just any spotlight whatsoever. And if you would have seen in my video this morning, what makes Conor Ben think just because he's the bigger man that would give him an advantage over someone like Shakur Stevenson? Shakur Stevenson would absolutely run rings around. Actually, I was going to say would run rings around Conor Ben. He probably wouldn't even need to run rings around him. He'd probably just stand in front of him and outbox him, outpunch him, just out everything Conor Ben. I think Shakur Stevenson would make Conor Ben look ridiculous. And you can talk about being the bigger guy as much as he wants. That means nothing if you're not hitting anything. If Shakur Stevenson would just be popping him all over the place, countering him left, right, and centre, Conor Ben would not lay a glove on Shakur Stevenson. And I would think that there'll be plenty of other bigger fights for Shakur out there anyway. I mean, you've got, where is he? If he did go to 147, you've got Roller Ramiro, you've got the winner of Barrios and Garcia, and you got Haney. All bigger fights than Conor Ben, in my opinion. The only thing would maybe be is if he went over to England and fought Conor Ben, becomes obviously a massive fight over there. I think it would almost be a bit of a replay of Floyd Mayweather against Ricky Hatton. That's what I think would happen in that fight, if they did fight. Except Stevenson, what's his name? Conor Ben wouldn't win a round. At least Ricky won a round or two. It's that shadow boxer. Not to get too weird, but I can see a deep sadness in Teo. You can tell he's got mental issues, and I feel he only boxes for his dad's love/approval. Yeah, look, it's not a bad call, shadow boxer. You almost get the impression with Teo that, yeah, it has been a bit of a grind for him, probably since he lost to George Kambosos, really. I think that almost ripped the heart out of him, didn't it? And that was a really tough pill for him to swallow. Yeah, I get the impression, the same as you there, that maybe he's looking for his dad's love/approval. But look, it's such a tough sport, though, shadow boxer. At some stage, you've got to make the call, and if his heart's not in it, then it's time to get out. So once you sort of climb through the ropes, all that gets left behind. You're there to compete and perform, and he just didn't do that yesterday. Richard, Big Baby Miller surely he surely has enough money to go to Turkey for some hair if he really wants it. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? All right. It was a boxing marathon this weekend, that's for sure. I thought Josh Kelly got the job done fair and square as well. Anyway, broken record, but how awesome are UK crowds? Yeah, they are, aren't they? I'd love to get over there for one of those big fights, Richard. It was fantastic. It was a great atmosphere. But yeah, it was a boxing marathon, wasn't it? What do you think of my comments this morning when I said that? I just think having 64 scheduled rounds is just way too much for a telecast. I just think it's too long a day. I mean, it started at 10 a.m. I think, was it after the first fight? Was there like a half an hour gap in between the second fight? I think there was. And someone said it might have been because Turkey was on his way there or something, but too many rounds. I think for a telecast, you need, worst case, 40 rounds in total. That's 4 hours. That's it. That's all you need. Maybe a couple of 12 rounds. So the main event plus a 12 rounder on the undercard. Maybe a 10 rounder or maybe an 8 rounder or something like that. That's all you need. That's all you need. Richard says, Jai's in a good position with Zuffa, and if Dana rates you highly, then you've got a lot of backing. Hopefully a bigger arena for his fight, but going to be an interesting year for him. I would hope so, Richard. If they put him in that little arena that they've been fighting in the last sort of week or two, 300 people or whatever it is, that's a slap in the face to Jai Pataya. So let's hope they get behind him a bit, Richard, although it's only a month away, so they haven't got a lot of time to get a venue, have they? So I don't think Jai will mind, but it'll probably look good on TV, but I just think he deserves better. All right, Shakur kept, Shakur kept Teo where he wanted him, as in Teo came into attack, he would step back or to the side, then Teo, to get close, had to lunge in, the Shakur jabbed, and then he, I'm getting there, mate. When he lunged in, Shakur jabbed over and over. His jab has decent power. Yes, well, it's a good point too. Yep, he did do that. He would stand there and tempt Teo, and as soon as he started to come in, he would step back and then come back and counter what he was trying to do, or worst case, just leave him sort of hanging. Look, brilliant performance from Shakur. Don't think we can say that enough, mate, but I just, again, would have expected Teo to at least do something. Well, even in the last fight, William Zepeda had some success against Shakur. Shakur still won most of the rounds, but still made it a real fight just by getting in close and taking away the range, because that was the major thing in the fight. Shakur fought out his own range. I just, again, don't think he could have believed how easy he had it. Even if Teo had just taken a step in, just to consistently try and change the plan where he's a step closer, maybe that would have been the first thing that maybe his corner might have said, Teo, wherever you are, take an extra step forward. If Shakur steps back, take another step forward. If he moves to the left, take another step to the right, but always maintain that distance of being one step closer. Because the distance he was in, he was continually just lunging and missing, and Shakur was just coming back at him with counters all the time. It was just one-way traffic, unfortunately. All right, Tony. By all accounts, John Manu was fighting late March in Melbourne. Do you know who the opponent is? No, I don't. Tony? I know. Is that the one that Ibrahim Bella is on? Let me have a look. TBA. Okay. All right. So that will be at the Melbourne Pavilion. All right. So they've got some fights on that card already. That is a Rob Fogarty show. Geez, a lot of fights on the card too. Are they amateurs or something? There's a lot of fights. So it looks like John will be the main event by the looks of things there. But yeah, no idea there, mate. I'll keep an eye out for it. Adam, how you going there, mate? Yep, I hope you had an awesome weekend too. How would Nikita measure up against Josh Kelly? And congrats to my son being a world champion. Has the same name, Joshua Kelly. There you go. Well, congratulations to Joshua Kelly Jr. I think Nikita would give Josh Kelly a real good fight. I'm not sure he'd have enough to maybe beat him. But geez, if I got offered that fight, if I was Nikita, again, as I said before, I'd be taking that fight in 2 seconds, because you just never know. Very, very beatable, Josh Kelly, but he just fought the perfect fight yesterday. I think there'll be a lot of opponents saying, well, even with the rehydration clause, if we get offered that fight, we're going to go for it. So I think Nikita would do very well against Josh Kelly. Naz, if Nikita being ranked 6th in the IBF got the call up to fight Kelly as a voluntary, should he take it? Yeah, no, that's what I just said there, mate. I think he should take it 100%. Keep building, yeah, keep building, but if the opportunity comes up against the right guy, you've got to take it. Now, if Nikita got an opportunity to fight Sebastian Fundora or even on the weekend before he got beat, Barkram Munazov, of course you're going to say, nah, it's too early. We're not going to put him in with those types of guys. But if you got the call to fight Josh Kelly, 100% I'd be taking it. You look back at, back in the day, when Jeff Harding took the fight with Dennis Andrees. Maybe wasn't ready for a world title fight, but he saw Andrees as being very beatable, and he took the fight and he got the job done. So, 100% look to keep building, but if the offer came, then have a crack. You can always go back into the rankings, rebuild from there, and before you know it, you're back. Because Kelly, look, the thing is, Josh Kelly is not going to do a number on Nikita Zoo. Not like we've seen Fundora do to Tim or Barkram do to Tim. That's not going to happen to Nikita. Yeah, he might get outboxed or outclassed, whatever it might be, but he's not going to get a beat down. So even if he went over there and lost a little bit like Sam Goodman to Nick Ball, went over there, gave a good account of himself, just came back and got back on with it. He had a win in his last fight and could get another title shot this year. I think Nikita would probably be the same. Yep, even if he got the shot and got outboxed, could easily come back and start building again and be ranked again after another 1 or 2 fights, and then from 2027 he could go again. So got to take the chances while they're there, Naz, if the right opponent comes up. A lot of boxing dads are like tennis dads, have to be part of the show. Yeah, I hate it, Richard. At least someone like John Fury, I think he got the hint with Tyson and did take a little bit of a step back. I'm pretty sure he was out of the corner in the last fight, wasn't he? From memory. I will say one thing. I don't mind someone like Bill Haney, as much as I think sometimes he can be a bit of a tool as well. I think in the corner he's actually quite good, Bill Haney. He's okay. But the problem is with someone like Teofimo Lopez Sr. is that it's all about him. He makes it all about him. And it was the same with, I remember, Robert Guerrero's dad as well. And I know Mayweather's dad was similar, but he was still a great trainer in the corner. That's the difference. It's okay to have a tennis dad, as you say, and they want to be part of the show. But if they can deliver in the corner, then let him go. And even I'll say to some extent, George Kambosos' dad, Jim, he's always in the corner, but he always knows when he needs to take a step back and let the corner man do his job. He'll have a few little quips here or there, but he knows when he can and when he can't. Whereas someone like T.O. Sr., again, it's all about him. He has no idea what he's doing, what he's saying, no idea to change the game plan. So he shouldn't be in the corner. But I think it just depends on the circumstances there, Richard. But yeah, unfortunately, boxing is full of those tennis dads, aren't they? All right, Tony. I recall a truly awful father as a trainer. Yeah, he trained 3 of his sons here in Australia. Seth Waters, yeah, he wasn't a very good man by all accounts. Tony, Seth Waters, and he actually got into a bit of trouble with Dean, didn't he, when they got done for murder? I think from memory. And he used to make Troy and Guy and Dean. They lived on a farm. They weren't allowed to socialise. weren't really allowed to have friends. It was just training from dawn to sunset. And boxing was just everything. So, and I think it definitely affected those guys mentally going forward. That's for sure. Oscar Everingham, how are you there, Oscar? Thanks as always. No worries, mate. Do you think Shakur would have to go up multiple divisions before being beaten? It seems no one can outskill him. It would have to come down to size. I don't think anyone at 140 could beat him, Oscar, or at 135. I think he'd beat Moritalia pretty comfortably. Abdullah Mason would give him a few concerns just because of the style, but I still think Shakur would win. Just looking at the rankings now. So we'll go from sort of 135 up to 147. I don't think he'll ever fight Andy Cruz. Andy Cruz could give Shakur some problems, but that fight's not going to happen, so we won't even think about that one. I think, as I said, Moritalia, I think he'd beat. Davis, I think he would beat, which would be a great fight, though. I still think he would win. And I think Mason would be difficult style-wise, but he would beat him as well. And apart from that, I mean, you can throw in like a Floyd Schofield or a Joe Cordina or one of those types of guys. I think he beats all those guys at 140. This is where it does get a little bit tricky. I think Richardson Hitchens would give Shakur a fight, a really good fight. He'd still have to back Shakur. I think he'd beat Gary Antoine Russell and Dalton Smith and Pitbull Cruz. Geez, a Cruz fight would be a tough fight for him, though, wouldn't it? I still think he would win. But Cruz is the one that would just at least, you would not see him do what T.O. did yesterday and just accept defeat after 3 rounds. He would be at him throwing bombs. So it'd be entertaining, but Shakur would still win that fight. 147 is where it gets really interesting, Oscar, because you've got, I think he'd beat Lewis Crocker pretty comfortably and Ramiro pretty comfortably, but and Barrios. But how would he go against a Ryan Garcia and a Haney? I don't think he'd make the same mistake against Garcia that Devin Haney did. I think he'd probably beat him pretty comfortably, but Devin Haney's the one. And sort of breaking it all down, Keyshawn Davis is the other one. So I think Keyshawn Davis and Devin Haney are the only 2 fighters, in my opinion, that are capable of beating Shakur. And would they beat him? I think the only one realistically that could beat him, if I had to come down to one, it's Devin Haney. Yep. I still think as good as Keyshawn is and how good he looked yesterday, I still think Shakur would have enough to beat him. Devin Haney is the one that would be, I think, the best, like style-wise, would be a great fight for Shakur Stevenson. Wouldn't be the greatest fight of all time, though, Oscar. You talk about chess matches. Well, geez, would there be a punch landed? Probably not. What's that? Drew. Jarrell Miller minus the paracetamol regimen and factor in advancing age was horribly underwhelming, marginally superior. Butterbean. Yeah, it wasn't a great fight, though, was it, Drew? I sort of went back and forth. I was sort of on the computer. I had it sort of on the screen there, and I was sort of watching it, and I sort of found myself sort of looking through the internet and looking back and doing a couple of things, and it wasn't a great fight. And the guy he fought, what was his name? Oh, I haven't got it up there. Yeah, it wasn't, I don't think, supposed to be a huge challenge for him, but he made it very competitive, didn't he? So, all right, Naz. Shakur and Conor Benn had an interview together on Ariel Helwani's show a couple of months back where they had some back and forth and agreed to fight. Yeah, I did see that, Naz, but again, when it comes to Conor Benn, a lot of it's just manufactured. I get why Conor Benn would probably want the fight, and good on him, I suppose, that he wants to test himself against someone like Shakur Stevenson. But I'll say it again, I think that's one of the more one-sided fights I think you can get at the moment. Conor Benn sees himself as a bit of a killer, a bit of a bad man. It's one thing beating Chris Eubank Jr., a depleted, weight-drained and dehydrated Chris Eubank Jr. It's another thing coming up against a big, strong, solid, healthy Shakur Stevenson. But again, yeah, good on him if that's the fight he wants. And Shakur Stevenson going up to 147. But again, for me, that's just a one-sided fight. All right, Rayleigh Frame. How are you, Rayleigh? Evening all. I agree, Teo needs a new trainer. I watched Teo's interview after the fight saying he didn't listen to his team and spoke highly of them. Can't say same for Dad's interview about his son. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Yeah, I thought Teo was really good in defeat, Rayleigh. I was expecting him to say, oh, I got robbed and I deserve to win. Glad he didn't go down that track because it just would have made him look pretty silly. I think he accepted it quite well. But to say he didn't listen to his team, well, there was nothing said to listen to except punch him harder. That's all he sort of said. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, classy from Teo, not so much from his dad. Frank, congratulations. The only person who picked Kelly to win on the weekend. Well, I can't take credit though, Frank. I didn't actually pick him to win outright. I didn't. I just said I wouldn't be surprised if he won. And the fight went exactly the way I said it was going to go, right up until he got dropped in the 9th round, wasn't it? And he ended up, I thought he'd get stopped in sort of 10-11. Didn't come about. But no, I didn't actually pick him to win. Frank, I did say I'm not game enough to pick him to win. But I said don't be surprised if he does get the win. And he will give a very, very good account of himself. And he's all wrong for Murtazaliev's style. So I did get that right. But I wasn't game enough to take the final step, Frank, and say I'm going to tip Josh Kelly to win. Thanks for that, though. All right. Drew, again, I would like to see Shakur versus Haney, then potentially Ben, only because it might be a big... I would like to see Shakur versus Haney, then potentially Ben, only because it might be big in the UK. Aside from that, I'm not that intrigued by Ben with his lack of resume. No, I'm not intrigued by the fight at all, Drew. Shakur versus Haney, geez, that would be the chess match of all chess matches. And as I said, that's the only fighter I can legitimately see beating Shakur at that weight. Will they fight, though? A little bit of beef out there, I suppose, at the weigh-in and all that sort of stuff. And Terence Crawford even getting involved as well. Yeah, it makes sense down the track. The Shakur versus Haney, could that be the big super fight in another year or so? Fascinating stuff. Rayleigh, couldn't Teo have stepped to the left around Shakur's lead foot and punched the body on the angle? Easier said than done. He didn't move around as much as previous fights to offset the opposition. Well, it would have been worth a try, Rayleigh. That's our point. Try something. Step on his foot. Although Shakur was doing that to Teo a lot himself, wasn't he? But step on his foot. Good point. Step out to the left. Attack from a different angle. Do something. And if it didn't work, well, at least we could look at it and go, well, all right, this wasn't working or that wasn't working, but at least he tried to change tact and try and change tactics, and at least he had a go at it. But he didn't try anything. So it's just a fail all round, unfortunately. Ryan, I'll take the credit. That's for the Josh Kelly win, is it? All right, I gave him $1. I like the Kelly fight. I agreed he won. Fights like that, you're waiting for Kelly to slip up in concentration, get clipped, and it's over, but we'll keep paying for that sort of fight. I would, mate. Look, I know I'm obviously in the minority because a lot of people weren't very impressed by Josh Kelly's tactics, but I was watching the fight thinking, geez, how good is this guy going? How good of a game plan is this? That's what I was thinking. And not once during the telecast did I go, geez, he's just got his running shoes on tonight. What's he doing? I was just thinking, geez, everything I thought he could do against Barkram, he's doing everything plus. I was just that impressed with his performance, which is probably why I'm a little bit defensive about the whole thing, because I was just so impressed with the way he fought. And would I keep paying to see him fight? 100%. I don't mind watching the good fighters do that, you know. I mean, I paid to see Devin Haney fight. I see the Shakur Stevenson fight, just like I used to love to watch the Pernell Whitakers and Camachos and these types of guys do that, and Mayweathers do their thing. I just think the great fighters are just great to watch. And there's nothing better, in my opinion, not that Josh Kelly's a great fighter like those guys, but I just love watching fighters like that do their thing and get the rewards at the end of the day. I just thought he fought a great fight. I really do. Rayleigh says, congrats to Shakur. He showed class. Do you think Tim could beat Zayos? But Zayos will have many opportunities at 154. Yeah, I think it's a long way down the track, Rayleigh. I mean, you look at someone like a Zayos. Obviously, he's got the unification fights with who we got there, with either Fundora or Josh Kelly. But even then, he's got who else has he got there? Well, I suppose he could fight a Callum Walsh. He's got a little bit of support behind him now. Who else is there? Is it or Boots and Ortiz, of course. So I don't think they're going to want Zayos to fight those guys. I would think that Top Rank are going to want to protect Zayos for the time being, keep those belts. It's not like Top Rank's got a lot of things happening for them at the moment, so I think they want to have him keep those belts. But isn't it amazing that he's now almost a shot caller with two belts under his sleeve, or up his sleeve, in Xander Zayos? Could Tim beat Zayos? Yeah, 100% he could. But he still needs to improve. The Tim I saw fight last time out, I don't think would beat Zayos, but the Tim that fought Harrison and Mendoza and these types of guys, I think would be a big shot against Zayos. The problem is that they were, 3-4 years ago now, maybe some of them even longer. His best wins, he's nearly 31. So will we ever see that Tim again? Remains to be seen. But of course he could beat Zayos, but he needs to improve from his last fight. And you're right, though. Zayos will have many other fights he could possibly take before that one come about. All right, Drew. I enjoyed Teo versus Shakur every bit as much as a Rock and Sock and Robot classic. It baffles me how some people call such a fight boring. I'm with you there, Drew. And as I just said, I love fighters that do that. And I was enthralled the whole way by thinking, well, is this around Teo does something? It was pretty evident pretty early on that he wasn't going to do anything about it. But I love the performance of Shakur Stevenson. I really do. Just watching a master technician go about his business. I'm with you, mate. I don't know how they call it boring. I just thought it was a masterclass, and he deserves all the credit that he's getting. All right, Jay Beebs. I think the only style that works best against a defensive boxer is a volume puncher or awkward combination puncher. If you don't hurt him, at least you're winning rounds. Yeah, not a bad point there, Jay Beebs. I would think, and again, it's easier said than done. It's, again, keeping a step closer than what they or where they want you. So yesterday you got Teo and Shakur. Shakur Stevenson just kept Teo at arm's length the whole way at his comfortable range. Again, as I said earlier, I would have had Teo just every time he's comfortable, take a step forward. Just keep him out of his comfort zone. And then just be busy. And when I say busy, I'm not necessarily just saying just throwing punches for the hell of it. I'm talking about work rate. And even with the work rate thing, head movement, edging closer, getting in position. Even if he's stepping back, you're making him work. You're making him think. Because yesterday, all that Teo did was just let Shakur fight at his own pace, his own range, his own everything. It was just a walk in the park. Take him out of his comfort zone. And as I said, the best way to do that is to keep an extra step forward than where he wants you at and be busy with just the body movement, head movement all the time. Keep stepping forward. Keep the head movement coming and just try and get close. And you look at a lot of the guys from the past. You look at someone like, Castillo against Floyd Mayweather. Really shouldn't have been in the position to beat Floyd Mayweather, but look at the way he fought Mayweather. Just always just in front of him, always just taking that step forward, keeping the work rate up. Chavez against Meldrick Taylor as well, and you just sort of ground him down round by round by round. That's what they do. They don't just stand at range and just be target practice for the whole fight. And that's where I was really surprised again by Teofimo Lopez that he didn't have the IQ to change things up. But I think that would have worked better than what he did yesterday anyway. Because Shakur Stevenson, again, just couldn't believe his luck. You mean you're going to actually stand there in front of me? This is what he would have been thinking. You're going to stand there in front of me at my ideal range and expect to win? Are you kidding me? Anyway, it's just frustrating. Very frustrating. All right, D-Style. All right, so you had Shakur as number 1 in the pound for pound. I would have him at 3 or 4, D-Style, but I'm sure you're currently dealing with a lot of feedback on your pick for number 1, I would imagine. All right, Oscar. Ideal roadmap from Nikita Zoo. Next 5 opponents. How can he be nurtured without being rushed? Because like you said, his skill building seems very promising. Yeah, no, he's definitely got so much potential, Oscar. And again, I reckon he's improved a lot. Next 5 opponents, I think they've all got to be international opponents. I think forget about the domestic scene now. I think he's at 27. He's going to be 28 this year. Now's the time to go. He's cleaned out the majority of Aussies. And I know there's some other ones out there like a Joel Camilleri, but they're one of those types of guys. But they're just so much risk without reward. I think Nikita would handle Joel, but he's so awkward with the head movement. He could get cut. Just a very awkward guy. So I would not worry about Joel. I don't think he achieves anything by fighting and beating Joel. I would strictly go international now and look at specific types of opponents that are going to build Nikita up for his charge. I would put him in with a boxer, put him in with some punches, put him in with some southpaws, and just use the next 5 opponents as learning opportunities. So maybe get someone that might be aggressive but is not really a big puncher. So he's not going to have the possibility of getting hurt or cut or dropped or anything like that. And just have a different theme for each opponent. That's what I would do with him anyway. Oscar, pick specific type of guys for the next 5 fights and use those for specific purposes. And then after those 5 fights, that would have been, 17 fights by then? And away we go. And we test ourselves. And if you don't make it, because by this stage, we're probably at the end of 2027. You'd be 28, 29 by then. Got to push the button at some stage. So that's when he'll be ready to go. I would think by sort of the end of next year, I would think. And then it's sink or swim. But that's what I do, mate. Yeah, sorry, Naz. Wrong undercard. Yep. Jeez. That shows how far behind I am too, by the way. It really staggers me how at the highest level Teo's corner appeared to bring no Winswell or Vaseline to the corner. I did notice that too, Drew. And when he was coming out to start the round, he actually had blood trickling down his face. Yeah, they just fell down on a lot of fronts, didn't they? The corner, that's for sure. Rayleigh frame, I think a fighter like Thurman in his prime would find a way to get through Shakur's style of boxing due to his angles and movement in the ring, but not the same weight division, yeah. And that's what I was just sort of getting at, Rayleigh, because someone like Keith Thurman, he's busy, he's got the smarts to change things up, has got the sort of head movement, he's got the, as I said, the IQ just take the step forward or back or to the side, whatever it might be, just to offset someone like Shakur Stevenson. But again, yesterday, Teo did nothing and just copped the L in a very, very timid type of way. JB's Paulie getting a haircut mid-fight. Yeah, that was pretty funny. And Franchon Cruz, DAZN with her wig torn off. Oh, that's right. Torn off by a corner. All comes second. The Miller Big Baby used blue tack. That's right. I remember that girl. Yeah, when she with her wig. That's right. But yeah, Paulie getting the haircut. That was pretty funny. That would have devastated him. I remember it might have been last year or the year before. There was an undercard fighter. I think they might have had the dreads, and they just cut him off mid-fight. It would have been shattered. All right, Drew. I still think Teo has something left in the tank. I just think that we witnessed that Shakur is and was the worst possible opponent for him. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the end of the road for Teo, Drew, but yeah, you got to think, where does he go? I mean, he could probably get another world title fight. I mean, when you think about it, at 140, I mean, he even did talk about maybe going to 147 himself, but I mean, you could get in there with maybe someone like a Richardson Hitchens, who I think would be a bad fight for him. I think we might see a replay of what happened yesterday. Russell would be a tough one for him as well. Dalton Smith would be a very, very winnable fight for him. But if he went to 47, I'd probably back him against everyone except Haney. I think he could beat Barrios, Garcia, Romero, and Crocker. So, yeah, there's plenty left there for him. It's whether he's got it inside anymore, Drew, and whether he still wants it, because he has retired a couple of times as well. So, obviously, the motivational factor is not what it was, but yeah, he's got a few tough calls to make anyway, mate. All right. Frankie, I too was calling for Tim to change up his team. However, I love Nikita when asked about doing the same. He said, the team I started with is the team I finished with. We go as far as we go. Yep, I did see that, Frankie, and loved it as well, mate. And as I said, just because it didn't work out for Tim doesn't mean it's not going to work out for Nikita. So I think he's actually made the right call by sticking with who he's got at the moment. All right. Paul, how are you there, mate? Who has love the show. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Who has a ring belt at 154? Is it Jamel? If Jamel doesn't come back, does that belt come back into play? That's a good question. Hang on. Who has got the Ring magazine? I'll look it up right now. Let's have a look. All right, it's probably in the chat there somewhere. Someone has already answered the question, but I'll have a look anyway. All right, the Ring magazine. Do you have to look for... Oh, yeah, there we go. What am I looking for? 154. Vacant. There it is. The Ring magazine belt is vacant. There, Paul, wouldn't you thought... Yeah, good. I would have thought maybe Fundora might have had it. I think he's probably earned it the most. Yeah, anyway. I'm surprised that they haven't got Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis to fight for the ring belt. Although it's got to be lineal, doesn't it, I think, the ring belt. So, yeah, it's vacant at the moment, Paul. Ryan, who do you think would be a good fight for AJ coming back after his tragedy? I'm sure the fight between AJ and Fury happens. Obviously, Tyson has a fight, should win that. AJ will need a fight also. Yeah, I think they'll have a fight each, Ryan. I think Tyson, when's he fighting? April, I think it is. I think AJ might not fight until the second half of the year, that's for sure. I think from what I saw the other day, I think it might just take him a little bit of time, but I think he's going to be okay, AJ. I know he got a bit teary and all that sort of stuff, but I just think it was more so about his friends. I think he'll be okay. But I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't fight till sort of July or August. Whether Tyson Fury has another fight after this one, probably not. I think they'll both have the next fights. AJ against who should he fight? Well, look, someone that's from 10 to 15, I would think, Ryan, in one of the organisations. Fury obviously fights Makhmedov, whatever his name is, and then they fight maybe the end of this year or the start of next year, I would think. Yes, Robert. I like it. Can we please all agree to remove the loud, obnoxious jerk fathers from professional boxing? I'm with you there, mate. You got my vote. I'm in. Yeah. Throw Rick Reno in there as well. Oh, the poor little bugger. Little ring Rick Reno. Are you talking to me about my hair? Yes, it is real. See? Yes. It's real. It doesn't look real. Yep, it is real there, mate. Very odd question, Robert, but yes, the answer is yes. All right. Naz, I personally don't like Spence Vazoo. If he loses, he lost to a washed-up Spence. Same if he wins. Should be a live fringe world guy like Brandon Adams, Jorge Perez, or even Lubin. Yeah, I don't mind that either, Naz. Look, I don't think Spencer's looking at Zoo at the moment anyway, mate. I would think, I think they would be taking notice of Tim, but I would be thinking, let's just see what it's like at the end of this year. Let me get a fight or two under my belt first, then we might see where Tim's at. But I would think that, especially with what's going on at 154 at the moment, I think Spence will be looking, all right, well, who's going to fast track me to a world title fight? You probably wouldn't want to fight Fundora. No one, I don't think, would want to fight Fundora with all these physical advantages. But, Spence might look at a Zayos or a Kelly as well and go, all right, well, let's fast track into a world title fight with those guys. Because remember, ratings don't mean anything these days. So, look, I like the fight for Spence. I like the Spence fight for Zoo at some stage for Tim. But I just don't think that Tim is the right guy for Spence at this stage. Shadow Boxer. Uncivilized fighting clowns, the UFC. All right, Vincent. Jai interview last week and confirmed his first fight is against an American, as Zulfa want him to get known over there. Brandon Glanton recently lost to Billum Smith and is a massive mouth. Yeah, well, I totally misconstrued the whole thing. I thought, by the way they faced off together, that Jai's next fight was going to be Michelanium. That's I just thought it was just going to happen. So obviously it's not. They just faced off for the sake of facing off by the looks of things. But no matter who he fights, I'm just glad that he's doing what he's doing. He's taken the plunge. Obviously he probably getting paid overs for being the marquee fighter, the first signing. So I'm all for it. And even though I don't like him fighting him in a pretty much a gym, the fact that he's actually over there and making a splash, I think it's great. So whoever it's against, I don't really care. Ryan taking offence at Shadow Boxer. Just a bit of banter, says Shadow Boxer. What'd you say there, Ryan? Ryan, come on, mate. I'm guessing you don't watch it. I love both sports. Boxing's my first love, but these guys in UFC are really skilled, mate. I'd have a UFC fighter back me over a boxer. I think in a street fight I would, Ryan. Yeah, UFC is obviously more designed for the street than what boxing is. Yeah, look, my thoughts on it, Ryan, is that, look, boxing is my one and only love. I respect the UFC. I just don't like to watch it. It's just my choice. Not to say I don't like UFC. I just don't like to watch it, if that makes sense. But I have total respect for the guys that do it. And as far as really skill, that's probably, if you're talking about with their hands, I would probably disagree, Ryan. There's probably only 2 or 3 people in the UFC I would say have decent boxing skills, if you want to call it that. But as far as all the other stuff goes, mate, the fact they have to do judo and jiu-jitsu and all these different sports all sort of thrown into one, you got to respect that. So, as I said, even though I don't watch the sport, still a massive fan of the fighters themselves. J. Beebs, what if Teo hires Roy Jones Jr. as a trainer? Both are explosive, athletic boxer punchers. Seems like a fit. The only fault I've sort of seen with Roy Jones Jr., J. Beebs, is that he's tried to make his fighters fight like him, and he's Roy Jones Jr. It's almost impossible to replicate. Not so sure Teo could do that. But having said that, you're probably right as far as both are explosive and athletic and boxer punchers. Yeah, it's not going to happen though, J. Beebs. There's no way Teo's going to get rid of his dad. I wouldn't have thought. They have too close a relationship, and I think family to those guys means so much. Teo would rather lose with his dad in his corner, I would think, than win with a stranger in his corner. That's just the vibe I get anyway. All right, Glenn, how are you there, mate? Teo glaring was his jab hand position on his waist the whole fight, which you just can't do against a southpaw jab like Shakur's. Yeah, we'll add that to the list, Glenn, because he didn't really do anything right, did he, for the whole fight? It was just a shocking performance from Teo. All right, what else you got there? And his telegraph body movement every time he went to lunge in Teo was awful. 100% agree with you there, mate. Naz, whose fights would you not miss regardless of pay-per-view? Mine would have to be Virgil, Ortiz, Bam Rodriguez, and Dimitri Bivol. Depends, Naz, on the opponent. Dimitri Bivol would have to be against the right opponent. I wouldn't pay to watch him fight anyone except maybe a Benavidez. Well, most of them, Benavidez, Beterbiev, Canelo, those types of guys. It depends on what card. If he's a main event and he's fighting a nobody, I'm not sure I would pay for it. Naz. Brandon Rodriguez, yep, definitely. Virgil Ortiz, yep. What other fighters would we not miss? Have a quick look. Maybe I'll do this as a segment on not talking about. That's where we are now. Walking boxing. I have a bit of a think about that, Naz, but not a bad topic for what fights would you fork out money for, regardless of who they were fighting and what time of the morning. You got to factor that in as well. Shadowboxer. With Shakur, I haven't seen distant management that great since a prime Rigondeaux, and probably Loma in there as well, and Floyd Mayweather. Shadowboxer. Just those types of guys. They just make it look easy. They really do. And even now you've got Richardson Hitchens, you've got Keyshawn Davis, you've got Shakur, you've got Devin Haney, who and maybe Mason, I suppose, to some extent coming through. They just make it look really easy. They really do. I would almost have, who was it yesterday? Carrington looked pretty good as well. I know his opposition, Carlos Castro, wasn't it? Maybe not the world-class type of fighter that we'd like to see him in with, but those types of guys, style-wise, they just do it so well. But, yeah, there's been a lot of fighters like that, Shadow Boxer, but, yeah, Rigondeaux was definitely one, wasn't he? He was a great little fighter. So, Richard, yeah, I'm a bit harsh with saying a lot of boxing dads, but it's about stepping back when needed. Yes, agree, mate. Drew, you mentioned Pitbull Cruz as a potential future opponent for Shakur. It might be an unpopular take, but I think Shakur would have a field day against Pitbull's all-action face-first style. Yeah, look, I think he would win comfortably, Drew. But what I was probably trying to say is at least we'd have an entertaining fight, and you would never see Pitbull pretty much throw in the towel after 3 rounds and just accept his fate. You would see him. You would think. Let's just put it out there that if let's say it's after the 3rd round, Pitbull's tried to do his thing and lost all 3 rounds against Shakur Stevenson. He's not getting close. He's not being able to get his range, not being able to get close with what he's doing. You would see Pitbull bite down on the mouth guard and just come out throwing bombs. So at least it'd be entertaining. But yeah, would he beat him? No, of course not. I don't think he'd have a chance of beating Shakur Stevenson. But again, that's all I was trying to say is I think it would be a hell of a lot more entertaining than what yesterday's fight was. All right, Sean. My missus shows dogs and she thinks Neil is gorgeous and he's not fat. She says, tell that bloke who says he's fat to get stuffed. Thanks, Sean. I will do that. Well, I did do that, actually. I couldn't believe he said that. He said, you and your fat dog. Oh, I was like, come on, mate. And he is gorgeous. He's a good little fella. And I appreciate it. And obviously your missus knows what she's talking about if she shows dogs. I'm not sure Neil's in those or in that bracket of being able to be a show dog. But no, he's a great little fella. And more importantly, like most bulldogs, he's got a beautiful soul. He's just a really good little dog who's so innocent. He's loyal, he's loving, all that sort of stuff. And he's a good little fella. Asbot. And say thank you to your missus too. Thanks, Sean. In watching Tio's flaws being exposed with no answers, I'm glad that Tim's got a new trainer. Tio needs to follow Tim's example. Yes, he does, Asbot, but it's not going to happen, mate. I wouldn't have thought. Tio will, as I said before, would rather lose with his dad than win with his dad not there. What else have we got there? Richard, what do you think Ryan Garcia lacks in his arsenal? I personally think it's his inside game. Yeah, I just think it's his smarts, Richard. I just don't think he's a very smart fighter. What else is there? Well, let's see. He's fast. Make no mistake about that. He's got that whipping left hook as well. Not so much with the right hand. I think his defense is questionable as well. And I think, like you said there, his inside game is not a real good inside fighter. Yeah, I think if you break it all down, I mean, look at his strengths, as I said, it's his speed and probably that left hook. That's probably about it. He's got okay footwork and okay sort of natural skills. I just think he could be a hell of a lot better fighter if he didn't keep chopping and changing trainers every sort of second or third fight. So, yeah, I'd say lacking is his IQ as well, Richard. That's probably his main thing. No smarts. JB, Shakur versus Hitchens in a unification might be the most boring fight ever. Yeah, well, just being silly, but I can see Shakur pound for pound won soon and probably finishes up with titles at 154. I definitely see him as number one, J Beebs. Maybe Naoya Inoue is probably his only obstacles because Usyk will be out of there pretty quick, another year or so, like 18 months. Shakur will still be around, you think, another sort of 4 or 5 years. Naoya Inoue is probably the only one I think that would maybe give Shakur a bit of a run as far as being number one. But he's gone from, 9, 10 or whatever it is, right into the top three as far as I'm concerned. Drew, people often mention the downfall in Tim's career as the unfortunate first Fundora fight, but I actually think the Harrison victory played a part too. Against Mendoza, he was way more measured. Yep. The Mendoza fight was after Harrison, though, wasn't it? I think I was actually really impressed with the Mendoza fight and obviously the Harrison fight as well. I didn't take anything out of the Ocampo fight. Yeah, I don't know. I think, if anything, I don't think the Fundora fight took too much out of Tim Drew as far as anything goes. For me, it's a Murtazalia fight. I think that was a real mentally crushing moment for Tim. And I've said all along, I just don't think he'll be able to come back from it long term. The downfall for me, I think, Tim, I don't think was mentally scarred by the first Fundora fight at all. Obviously, physically scarred with the cut or with what happened, but I thought he was in good spirits after the fight, and I just thought that he knew, obviously. I think in his mind, he had it in his mind that, well, I only lost that fight because of the cut. Without it, I lost a split decision, by the way, and without it, I would have won. I think that was his mentality. But I think the Murtazalia fight was a real crushing blow mentally for him, and I still think we see the scars of that even now. Fundora fight didn't help, the second one. But even in that last fight, to me, he still looked very tentative, a little bit gun-shy. And that's why I think it's important he doesn't rush into a big fight straight away. But for me, it's still Murtazalia, mate. But maybe after the Harrison, Ocampo, and Mendoza fights, maybe that's when he probably had a false sense of reality of the damage he could do to these guys, and didn't sort of count that when he got up to the really top guys, that wasn't going to work as far as being able to bulldoze those guys. So maybe it's a mix of all of them. But mate, I still think Barkram was the fight that just, I think, destroyed Tim, and it's going to be hard to come back from. I hope he does, but. Fighting the Venezuela, what's his name? Was it Velasquez, wasn't it? Was that his name? Velasquez? Yeah. Or Venezuela. Velasquez. Yeah, fighting those types of guys is a hell of a lot different to fighting an Ortiz or an Ennis or a Charlo or a Thurman or a Fundora. So we'll see in the long term, I suppose, won't we? Yeah, Sean. Yep, Josh Kelly definitely showed Tim how he should have fought Bakram. Look, but again, that's not Tim's style. So I don't think Tim could afford that way and beat Bakram either. Yes, he would have lasted a lot longer, no doubt. But Tim hasn't got the footwork and speed that Josh Kelly has, I don't think. Tim's more a calculator type of fighter. He's a little bit that Russian style. I think what he should have done against Barkram, maybe more than anything, is maybe backed up a little bit early, just taken a bit of the sting out of the fight, maybe tried to counter Barkram a little bit more early and then maybe pick it up as the rounds went on. But even Barkram showed yesterday that he's going to be there for 12 rounds. He's very, very hard to shake. So I still think that Tim would have lasted if he had fought a more cautious fight. But I still think Barkram, as they say with styles make fights, I think Barkram beats Tim 10 times out of 10 because of the styles. I think what they say, it's like iron fighting steel and Barkram's steel. And I think it would be too much for iron is what Tim is. So does that make sense? I'll throw that out. But either way, I just think Barkram Murtazalia, no matter how Tim fought him, eventually would have caught up with him. He just wouldn't have been blown away the way he was if he had just fought a little bit more cautious early on. All right, J Beebs, insert a prime Lomachenko. How do you think he fares with Shakur? I like his chances. The work rate, footwork, angles could have Shakur frozen. Yeah, obviously different. Oh, no, I've got to say they were different weights. They weren't they both at lightweight, weren't they? And at featherweight, of course. Yeah, what am I thinking? Featherweight up to lightweight. I would back Loma. Yep, I think I would back Loma. J Beebs, be a great fight, but I think Loma's style would be kryptonite to Shakur's style. I think Lomachenko and Shakur are very similar fighters, but I think Loma had the speed, the angles, had everything to counter Shakur, make him pay, and I think Lomachenko would have beaten Shakur, mate. But again, styles. All right, Drew. Such a shame to see the Ortiz Boots fight fall over. It's so frustrating. It's not like one guy is an overwhelming A side over the other guy. Egos, money, greed, and precious conditions. Yep. Well, the thing is, I think you got to throw a few factors in there, though, Drew. One is you've got Oscar De La Hoya, who I think thinks Virgil Ortiz is a bigger star than what he is. Yes, very, very good fighter, star potential, but he's not really a star when you think about it. He's not known to the masses. He's not known to casual fight fans. So he's certainly not that guy. I think I might be wrong, but I would think Boots Ennis is probably a little bit more well known than what Virgil Ortiz is to some of those casuals out there. But either way, as I said, I think Oscar has sort of overrated the appeal of Ortiz. I think that's sort of come to fruition in the negotiations. I think Eddie Hearn's been the one all along who's probably been the more professional of the two and has said, look, let's just get this fight together. Let's just call it a 0-all draw. It's nice and even, 50-50, and let's go. So I think Eddie's been really good in that way. I just think Oscar's saying they wanted 60-40 or whatever it was. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So no wonder Eddie Hearn said, no, we ain't playing that. No, it's 50-50 or no fight. So I think in this instance, you've got that as far as Oscar goes, and also that Virgil Ortiz is obviously getting some pretty, varied type of advice from his manager, which is conflicting with Oscar. So maybe Oscar has bent just a little bit, but the manager's still saying, no, mate, you're worth 60. You're worth 60. Keep telling him 60. And then he's getting involved with Eddie Hearn, and it's just causing all different types of drama. So I think it's sort of from more the Ortiz side rather than the Boot side, if I'm being honest. But end of the day, it's the fighters and the fans that suffer, isn't it? It's just so all the promoters can do the little ego war. Little Rick Reno reminds me a lot of the little bloke off Fantasy Island. He does, doesn't he? Little Rick Reno. He's a little character though, isn't he? But it's just funny when he gets in the ring. What was he wearing yesterday? I think he had a couple of different jackets on. I saw he had the big fur coat on at one stage, and then he had another. I think he had a big puffer jacket on at another stage, and yeah, little ring Rick. He's Trent Rose from No Limit, related to Rick Reno from The Ring, like twins and similar dress sense. Yeah, it is similar there, Vincent. I don't think Trent Rose likes the attention like Rick Reno does, though, mate. I think he's likes to just let George and Matt take centre stage, but little Rick Reno, yep. You know, I hate to say this, but what he reminds me of is who's that little fellow they get with the UFC? The little he's an adult, but he looks like a little person. And he's a little bit of a social media star. It's almost like they get him in. He's a little bit of a joke to them all. They'll take the piss out of him and all that sort of stuff. He's almost like a little mascot of the UFC, isn't it? I think is that, or is it boxing? I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about. It looks like a little tacker, little kid, but he's really an adult. Rick Reno almost reminds me of him, where he's almost like come on in, Rick. Come on, mate. Put your little hat on and your glasses, and we all love Rick. What a great little bloke he is. He's like a little mascot of the boxing world, a little Turkey Al-Sheikh's little mascot, little offsider, little mini-me, or not really a mini-me, but you know what I mean, just his little offsider, his little mate. But Rick Reno thinks he's a real player in the game. That's the way I sort of look at it anyway. So, anyway. Ryan, Max Kellerman, geez. That was shocking, was he? Geez, talk about buddy licking the dog shit off Turkey's boot heels. That was pathetic, wasn't it? I like D-Style too, by the way. I'm not sure whether you're still watching D-Style. When you played the song. Now, that song, by the way, you played D-Style, talking about Max Kellerman, was actually my wedding song. So it brought back a lot of memories. I can't remember who sings it, but Is It All My Life is what it's called. But yeah, he played that. That was a pisser. So he didn't see that. I was on one of D-Style's videos from last week. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, that was my wedding song from a long time ago. Drew, after the 6th round, in hindsight, Tio probably should have thrown every boxing textbook out the window. Had just gone feral and reckless in an attempt to have a boom or bust mentality. That's what I'm saying, Drew. That's exactly what he should have done. He was 6 rounds down by that stage. Mate, just go for it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Jason James. Yeah, Hasbulla. There you go. That's who I'm trying to remember. Yep, Hasbulla had a growth spurt. That's who it reminds me of. Just everyone's little mate Rick. Yeah, who's just everyone likes to have around and get a picture on social media with, but he thinks he's a real player. At least Hasbulla knows his place. He knows he's a little bit of a little social media sort of magnet, and Rick Reno's the same. Yeah, pretty funny. All right, Ryan, as a business owner, I assume you have ChatGPT. I use it daily myself. It is so interesting to match up fighters and see what AI comes up with. Might be a good segment for walking boxing. I don't have ChatGPT, Ryan. I'm afraid. No, I don't have it. Should I have it? I sell liquor. Does it do? What does it do? It's probably the wrong sort of format for it. I'll look it up. So what do? You match up. So you ask AI who would win is such and such fought each other. I'm going to look that up tonight. Maybe do a list of dream fights and see what ChatGPT says. Was it GPT? Yeah, look, mate, not really up with that. I'm from the old school who just likes to do a lot of social media and radio and all that sort of stuff, I suppose. But I will check it out, Ryan. Thanks for bringing that up. And I'm assuming by you saying as a business owner, I assume you've got it. With me saying I don't have it, does that mean I'm living in the dark ages a bit, does it? It probably does. All right. I can't believe how easy it was to watch for free on Twitch TV and Discord links. I wouldn't have a clue about that, Jason. Fill me in on how all that works. Is this the Teofimo Lopez and what did I say? Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson fight. Okay. Was it Twitch TV and Discord? Okay. I have no idea what that is, but I'll look it up. Okay. So that's exactly what you're saying, Ryan. I'm living in the dark ages. Well, now I'm going to have to look it up and see how... Oh, you're 50. Okay, so we're the same age. Jeez, all right. Okay. Fill me in, Ryan. How does it work? How would it benefit me as a business owner? Does it write an ad for me or does it make an ad for me? How does it work? Because I have no idea. I've got to... Actually, my offsider in the office, he does a lot of AI sort of stuff, so maybe I should ask him. I use Canva and I use the AI on that sometimes for social media sort of stuff, but I have no idea how that what was it called? Chat GBT works. I'm going to look it up and see if it can help me out. Well, it is great for emails. So what does it do? Write an email for you. How does that work? How does it know what I want to say? I don't understand that. How does it understand what I'm thinking and what I want to ask for? And all I can think of, Ryan, when we talk about all this and all the AI and all that sort of stuff is Terminator. Aren't we just going down that same path as Terminator, where it's got its own brain, it thinks for itself, and if we try and shut it down, it's going to rebel and start World War III. That's all I can think of. Okay, so I can do all that. Geez, now you got me thinking. Geez, Chat GPT. I'm going to look it up. What does the GPT stand for? All right, we'll move on. Drew, Turkey versus a Rick Reno for a 12-round fight. Who wins? I'm going to back me little ring Rick Reno. Drew, I reckon he gets a win over Turkey El Sheikh. I think Turkey's a lover, not a fighter. I think little Rick could be biting his ankle and fighting dirty. Like he reminds me a little bit of like someone like a George Costanza with the garb on. I reckon if you put all that gear on Jason Alexander, he'd look like George Costanza's little ring Rick. But I'm backing little Rick, Drew. As I said, I reckon he'd play dirty. Glenn, where's Batman gone? I miss our Canelo banter, which he always loses. Yes, haven't really heard much of Batman lately, Glenn. That's a good point. I haven't heard much of him at all, to be honest. It is he's from England, I think, isn't he? So it's probably why. Yes, Tony, Skynet. That's what I'm thinking too. Jason, yeah, Twitch is just like YouTube, and you get links to a private chat where it gets displayed. Jeez, I'm assuming it's illegal though, Jason. Hang on, what is it called? Twitch TV. Is that what the gamers and all that use? Yeah, Twitch. I have no idea about it, Jason. But by the sounds of things, I'm either Gonna have to get with the times or be left behind, aren't I? So it's a stream. There's a channel. All right, it says about. What is it? We saved you a seat in chat. Twitch is where millions of people come together live every day to chat, interact, and make their own entertainment together. How do they make their entertainment together? Games, music, talk shows, sports, food and drink, special events. What the hell is that? Okay. All right. I've got 2 teenage sons. One teenage son. One is now out of his teens. They would probably know what I'm thinking, so I'm going to ask them. Well, all right. What's that? Takes a photo of your notes and it sorts it out. So you still got to have notes. So couldn't I have just written the email when I've written my notes? Just thinking. All right. Okay. Now I've got a headache, Ryan. Oh, jeez. ChatGPT. All right. Now I feel like I'm living in the Stone Age. All right. You have to get it. Trust me. All right. Okay. Will do. All right. Rankings, guys. What's going on with the Aussies? Let's have a quick look. No, there's no comments there. In the heavyweights, who have we got ranked? We'll do this until the end if we don't get any more comments. Keep them coming there, guys. So we've got, I'm assuming Justice Huni is ranked now. Still, is he? Where is he? Joseph Goodall is still ranked by the WBA. That's how well they're going. I don't see any Aussies in the heavyweights. Oh, okay. So I've got to get ChatGPT. All right. What's that, Drew? I was born in the 70s. I'm happy just to be a tech dinosaur at this point. I'm going to have to get one of my sons working for me, I think. All right. So we've got Justice Huni at 13 and Joseph Goodall 14 in the WBA. Cruiserweights, we've got Jai. I don't think we've got Floyd Masson's at 7 with the IBF. I think that's it for the Aussies there. Light heavyweights, we've got Connor Wallace at 2 in the IBF. 5 with the WBO. 10 with the WBC. And 11 with the WBA. All right, at super middleweight, don't think we've got anyone there, have we? Or have we? No, we've got middleweight. Michael Zarafa 4 with the WBA. 13 with the IBF. Oh, there you go. Dylan Biggs, 15 with the WBC. He's got himself a world ranking. Michael Zarafa is out of the WBC rankings. There you go. WBO, he's out of there. Oh, no, he's number 8 with the WBO. I'll keep a look at these comments here. 154, we've got Nikita, number 6 with the IBF. Tim Tszyu, number 9 with the IBF. WBA wasn't, Joel Camilleri, 13 with the WBA at middleweight. There you go. Tim at 9 with the WBC. Nikita, 12 with the WBO. What's that there? Richard. All right, what should Justice do next? Wardy beating Parker did him a favour. Yes, to some extent. I think Justice will get past the tally first, I would think Richard, and then he will, I would say after that one, Lulu, is it Lulu? No, what's his name? It's Latelli, isn't it? Whatever his name is. I think you'll see Justice step right back up after that, mate. I think, the Wardy fight would have done wonders for him as far as his standing in the world goes, and I think he'll get another big fight, yep, for sure. But he's just got to get past the tally first, get back in the swing of things, and I reckon they'll step him straight back up. Sean, Rick Reno reminds me of Hornswoggle off the WWE. I don't know who that is, but I'll look him up there. Actually, I'll do it now. Where are we? Who is it? Hornswoggle? Is it? Horns. Let's have a look. It does look like him a bit. He's a little person, though. Yes, I just reckon Rick just reminds me of George Costanzo if he had the same hat and glasses on. All right, Drew. Huni would still be kicking himself for War the Disaster, who ironically is at the pointy end of championship contention. While he's got himself a world title belt now, Drew. He's got the WBA belt, hasn't he? So, all right, what else have we got going there? So the rankings. Liam Paro he's ranked number 1 with the IBF. 13 with the WBC. 5 with the WBO. I think that's it there. Forgive me if I'm missing someone. 140. I don't think we've got anyone there. John Manu, number 10 with the IBF. There you go. Great to see him in the rankings. I think that's it for that. Lightweights. No one there. What's that, Drew? No other sport can completely change the trajectory of a career in a split second like boxing can. Yeah, that's for sure, mate. That's for sure. 130. I'm sure Liam Wilson's in there, is he? Where is he? WBO. Number 3 with the WBO, Liam Wilson. Number 12 with the IBF. Featherweight. Is Sam Goodman ranked there yet? Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. So Bruce Carrington, he beat Carlos Castro yesterday. He was ranked number 2. There you go. All right, Sam Goodman. I don't think Sam's ranked anywhere. No, not ranked at 126. Oh, hang on. Have I got that wrong? No, not ranked at 126. And I have there he is, number 6 with the IBF at 122. 8 with the WBA. 8 with the WBC. And not ranked by the WBO. All right, a couple more to go and we'll call it a night. 118. Now, where's Jason Maloney here? He would be ranked. 11 with the WBC. Not ranked by the other organisations. This is interesting. 115. Andrew Maloney ranked number 1 with the IBF. Not ranked with the WBA. He's ranked 5 with the WBC and 3 with the WBO. And I think that's it. I would think. I might have missed one or two, but anyway. All right, guys. Well, we've got 3 minutes to go, but it doesn't look like we've got many comments coming. Oh, there's Ryan. What's that? Great show. Tune in every day and hit the like. Best in the business, mate. Thanks very much, Ryan. Really appreciate that, mate. And just keep a lookout for Walking Boxing every morning. If you've got some topics you want me to discuss on Walking Boxing, make sure, don't be shy. Let me know. And as always, any other comments, questions, remarks, opinions, whatever you want to throw at me, as I said, don't be shy. So, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Hope you have an awesome week, and we'll catch you next Monday on Talking Boxing. See you then.